Cinema, the art form we know and love, has a history as captivating as the stories it tells. It's a history of innovation, of pushing boundaries, and of capturing the human experience in entirely new ways. From the earliest flickering images to the CGI-laden blockbusters of today, cinema has always been about one thing: telling stories that move us. The story begins in the late 19th century. Inventors and tinkerers around the world were obsessed with capturing movement. Photography had already frozen time, but the dream was to make those still images come alive. In dimly lit workshops and laboratories, pioneers experimented with a dizzying array of devices. These early devices, with their clunky mechanisms and fragile film strips, might seem primitive now, but they held within them the seeds of something magical, something that would change the world forever.
Names like the Lumière brothers, Thomas Edison, and Georges Méliès echo through cinema history. These were the visionaries who took those early experiments and transformed them into a new art form. The Lumière brothers in France focused on capturing everyday life. Their short films, often just a single shot long, documented simple events: workers leaving a factory, a train arriving at a station. Yet the impact was profound. For the first time, audiences could witness events unfolding before their very eyes. Across the Atlantic, Thomas Edison saw the commercial potential of this new medium. He developed his own camera and viewing system, the kinetoscope, and soon kinetoscope parlors were popping up across America. People lined up to peer into the machines and experience the wonder of moving pictures. And then there was Georges Méliès, a magician and illusionist who saw in cinema a way to transport audiences to fantastical worlds. His films, like A Trip to the Moon, 1902, used trick photography and special effects to create dreamlike narratives. Méliès understood that cinema wasn't just about capturing reality, it was about creating new realities.
The first few decades of cinema were dominated by silent films. This wasn't a limitation, but rather a unique characteristic that shaped the art form in profound ways. Without dialogue, filmmakers had to rely on other tools to tell their stories: expressive acting, carefully composed shots, and of course music. Actors in silent films were masters of physicality. Their movements, their gestures, their facial expressions, everything had to convey emotion and advance the narrative. Think of Charlie Chaplin's iconic Little Tramp, with his waddling walk, his cane twirling, and his expressive eyebrows. He could convey joy, sadness, and everything in between without uttering a single word. Music was also essential to silent films. Pianists or even full orchestras would accompany the films, providing a live soundtrack that heightened the emotional impact. The music could be playful, dramatic, suspenseful. Whatever the scene demanded, it was a true collaboration between filmmaker and musician. Section 5. A World in Color, Technicolor and Beyond. Just as sound revolutionized cinema, so too did the arrival of color. Early experiments with color in film date back to the early 20th century, but it wasn't until the 1930s that Technicolor emerged as the dominant color process. Technicolor was a complex and expensive process, but the results were breathtaking. Films like The Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind, both from 1939, used color to create immersive and unforgettable worlds. The vibrant Emerald City, the fiery destruction of Atlanta. These were images that stayed with audiences long after the credits rolled. The transition to color wasn't without its critics. Some filmmakers argued that black and white film had a timeless quality, a stark beauty that was lost in the translation to color. And indeed, some of the greatest films ever made, from Citizen Kane in 1941 to Psycho in 1960, were filmed in glorious black and white.
Section 6. A Golden Age. Hollywood's reign. The 1930s and 1940s are often considered the golden age of Hollywood. It was a time when the studio system was at its peak, churning out hundreds of films each year. Studios like MGM, Paramount, and Warner Brothers had vast lots, employed thousands of people, and exerted immense control over every aspect of the filmmaking process. This system produced an astonishing array of films: musicals, comedies, westerns, film noirs, historical epics. Stars like Humphrey Bogart, Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant, and Ingrid Bergman became icons. their faces gracing silver screens around the world. The Golden Age was also a time of great innovation in filmmaking. Directors like Orson Welles, Alfred Hitchcock, and John Ford pushed the boundaries of the medium, experimenting with new techniques and visual styles. Their films, from Citizen Kane to Stagecoach to Vertigo, remain touchstones of cinematic artistry.
Section 7. Voices from around the world. While Hollywood was busy building its dream factory, a rich and diverse cinematic tradition was also flourishing in other parts of the world. In Europe, Asia, and elsewhere, filmmakers were developing their own unique styles and perspectives. Italian neorealism emerged in the aftermath of World War II, with films like Rome, Open City, and Bicycle Thieves offering a gritty and humanistic look at post-war life. The French New Wave, with its handheld cameras, jump cuts, and existential themes, revolutionized filmmaking in the late 1950s and early 1960s. Japanese cinema also rose to prominence in the post-war era, with directors like Akira Kurosawa and Yasujiro Ozu gaining international acclaim for their masterful storytelling and visual style. International cinema wasn't just about different styles. It was about different voices, different perspectives, different ways of seeing the world. It enriched the cinematic tapestry and reminded us that great stories can come from anywhere.
Section 8. The Digital Revolution, Pixels and Possibilities. The late 20th and early 21st centuries witnessed another seismic shift in cinema, the rise of digital technology. Just as sound and color had done before, digital filmmaking transformed the way films were made and experienced. Computer-generated imagery, or CGI, opened up a world of possibilities for filmmakers. Now they could create anything they could imagine, from fantastical creatures to epic battle scenes, with a level of realism never before seen on screen. Films like Jurassic Park and The Matrix showcased the awe-inspiring potential of CGI. But the digital revolution wasn't just about special effects. Digital cameras, editing software, and distribution platforms democratized filmmaking, making it easier and more affordable for aspiring filmmakers to tell their stories.
Section 9. Streaming into the future cinema at your fingertips. The way we consume films has also undergone a radical transformation in recent years thanks to the rise of streaming services. Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Disney+, and countless other platforms have brought vast libraries of films, from Hollywood classics to independent darlings to international treasures, into our homes. Streaming has made film more accessible than ever before. We can now watch what we want, when we want, without leaving our couches. This has been a boon for film lovers, but it has also presented challenges for traditional movie theaters. The future of cinema is likely to be a hybrid one, with streaming and theatrical releases coexisting. What's certain is that cinema will continue to evolve, to embrace new technologies, and to find new ways to tell stories that captivate and inspire us.
Section 10. The ever-unfolding story of cinema. From the flickering images of the earliest silent films to the CGI-laden blockbusters of today, cinema has come a long way. And yet, its essence remains the same: to tell stories that move us, to transport us to other worlds, to make us laugh, to make us cry, to make us think, and to make us feel. The history of cinema is a testament to the power of human imagination and ingenuity. It's a story of technological innovation, artistic vision, and the enduring human need to share stories. And like all great stories, it's far from over. The next chapter in the evolution of cinema is still being written.
And you know, that's what makes cinema so magical. It's ever-changing, ever-evolving, and always finding new ways to touch our hearts and minds.